I'm Jim with Kawaii Doragon Fandom Media. Some of you may know us from seeing us out and about at Comic-Cons and other fandom events over the last few years. But this year, we're going to try to start something a little different. We'll be a little more in-house and kind of start focusing on the people who make the fandom what it is. And starting us off is going to be an interview with a Salem, Massachusetts-based author and extraordinary cosplayer, a.k.a. Brandon the Shapeshifter, known to humans as Brandon Clarke. Brandon, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Good to have you. So, at the end of the day, you have some extraordinary cosplay. That's kind of like what introduced us to you in the first place. But since 2018, you've been more engaged in the role of a horror author. You have a series, I understand. It's an ongoing series. There's 4 volumes out now. And if I understand correctly, there will be a total of 10 where the stories interconnect. And can you tell us about that?
Yeah, totally. So I wrote a book series called Dark Mysteries of the Paranormal. And it's all based in the town of Salem, Massachusetts, because it's where I live. And we all know that in Salem, it is a long history of the witch trials. So I wanted to write a story of my own supernatural series of like witches and monsters and demons and ghosts and of that nature. And each book, which is 10 books, but each book tells its own story, but they're all connected as it leads to an explosive finale, you know. And I'm just it's like a labor of love. I had so much fun writing it, you know.
Cool. Now, from what I understand, there are currently 4 volumes available on Amazon. I even went out, as a matter of fact, and did a pre-read on volume 1. For those who are interested, you can go to Brandon's page and you can actually read a couple chapters of each book to sort of get the flavor for it. I read 1. I think it's a good story, so I really encourage you to do that. But since I'm running my mouth about it, Brandon, can you give us a sort of synopsis of each of the volumes?
Yeah, totally. So volume 1 is called The Brave and the Wicked. This actually involves a girl named Jade Summers, and she's like mourning the loss of her mother, and she becomes the guardian of this ancient heirloom that's been passed down generation to generation by her family. And she also finds out that she's a witch. And Jade has to learn how to master her magic, just not only to be a witch, but also because the fact that there's like an evil essence inside this box. It eventually gets out, and she, like, everything turns into chaos. And she has to, like, you know, use her powers to defeat this creature so she can protect her loved ones and just, like, save Salem. And I had so much fun writing this one because of the fact that it's like, you know, it's very adult and it's very like fast paced, and there's a lot of like, you know, fighting and magic and just like, you know, so, and a lot of Halloween stuff because Halloween's my favorite holiday. So and then we go into volume 2, which is called The Ghost of Kyle Sugarbaker. And it's about a ghost, about a boy, a teenage boy who has an unfortunate demise after he's been bullied by his classmates, a hate crime. And his childhood friend Maya actually becomes an adult. She uses black magic to kind of resurrect his soul. So from volume 2 to volume 1, there's some Easter eggs in volume 1 that talk about Kyle Sugarbaker. And so as each book kind of picks up to the next one, there's a lot of Easter eggs. And you kind of have to, like, you know, really pay attention to get them. But, like, you know, there's an overarching story happening. And I'm super excited because the fact that, like, when you see all the characters kind of intertwine with each other, it's very dynamic, and it's really, oh my god, that's the character from this book. Oh, that's the character from that book. Oh my god, you know. So, and then
There's a lot of foreshadowing. Well, not a lot, but each volume sort of foreshadows the upcoming volume and sort of starts tying the story together.
yeah, there's a lot of foreshadowing. So actually, and just to go back a little bit, and because it's not really a spoiler, because there's so much that's going on, it's not really a spoiler. But in the Brave and the Wicked Volume 1, Jade, when she's at her mom's funeral, she notices Kyle Sugarbaker's grave. So it's like, and she like, looks at it for a second, and she thinks like the name sounds familiar to her because, Kyle Sugarbaker's like, it's a high profile case of what happened to him back in the 90s. But, she thought that but then, because she's so grief stricken that it kind of like, she kind of puts it out of her mind. But, when people read that and then you go to Kyle Sugarbaker's story, it was like, oh my God, I remember that from Volume 1. So, and then also there's also
I actually, not to cut you off, but I did want to mention, speaking of that,
yeah.
I did do the pre-read also as I was thinking about it for the Rainbow Dimension.
Yes.
And there is a character there who happens to be a friend of Kyle Sugarbaker.
Yeah.
It's about Rainbow Dimension.
Yeah, so Rainbow Dimension is about a man named Blair Cassidy. He's a baker in Salem, and he is like, he's very introverted and he's very bookish, but one day he just disappears. No one knows what happens to him. And, the whole town, especially his family, is trying to figure out, where is Blair? They don't know if he's alive, if he's dead. They are going crazy. And a significant amount of time passes by, and they still don't know what happens. But then one day he comes back, and he comes back very, very different. Also, with all the books, when it comes to the Rainbow Dimension and all the other previous books, there's one character that's in every single book. And her name is Candace Moon, and she's this really powerful African witch, and she is like beyond powerful. She's like the queen of Salem, basically. She's in every single book. Think of her as my Nick Fury of like the Avengers, like, but just a witch, or think of she's like my Dumbledore, of Harry Potter. So, Blair Blair has to like overcome this like obstacle of like breaking away from this malevolent creature named Balnair. And he has to like, try to find his own way, because one of the things that he has to do as his servant, as Balnair's servant, he has to feed people this creature. So, excuse me. So he doesn't want to do that no more. And I think that Blair has gotten to a point where he's in his life where he's like, I can't do this anymore. So there's a lot of like back and forth and push and pull of him trying to like break away. It's kind of like this story really is about him being able to break away from an abusive person, like a being. He has been abused all of his life. And he's like, at this point, he wants his freedom. Like, and plus his powers. He has cool powers too. But he wants his freedom. So Atlas and His Amazing Wonders. So that story is actually about a circus performer. His name is Atlas Moon. He's also a witch. He's a very powerful witch. And he has also a very tragic backstory where back in the 1920s, his family, his first class of wonders, and his wife and his daughter dies in this horrible fire. And for many years he had he was in depression for many years. He was like finding a way he turned to an alcoholic to cope for losing his family. But like losing your wife and your daughter and like your first class of wonders, that took a toll on him. So like fast forward to present day, he has another class of wonders, his second class of wonders, who it's kind of like he is kind of a misfit of himself. He's a misfit himself, and he has brought together a menagerie of other misfits who doesn't really have anyone. And, they kind of like, let's like, like do this together. Let's like travel the world and dazzle people with our powers. And that's exactly what they do. They dazzle people with their supernatural abilities. I can go into detail about each wonder, but I think it'll be better for you guys to read it. But like, Atlas is definitely one of the he's one of the wonders that really amazes people with his magic, and also when we're talking about overlapping characters, the person who
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but because Atlas is volume number 4, right?
yes, 4, yeah.
Yeah. Now, is there anything? I mean, is there any taste that you can give us of volume 5?
Yes.
When I go, I don't want you to tell the whole story, and people are like, "Well, I know the story now. I don't want to read the book." Yeah, we want to go out and read the book because they are good stories. So, is there anything you can tell us about volume 5?
Yeah, totally. So volume 5 is called Memoirs of an Immortal Witch, and that's Candace's story. So the mother, like the Queen Witch of Salem, that's her story. And it goes into full detail about who she is, where she comes from, how did she become, obviously they're all born witches, they were born with magic. But her whole journey of how did she become like to be the Queen Witch of Salem, And then volume 6 is about her daughter, Nubia. Nubia and Atlas are twins. So, and Nubia was like the first Black, like I guess you say actress to grace the silver screen in the 1920s. So, as each story is progressing, the great evil that's that's threatening all of them, it's little by little rearing its ugly head. And like I said, there's so much to this series. There's werewolves, there's mermaids, there's this thing called night sirens. Oh my god, that's so scary. They're called night sirens. It's so scary. They're horrifying. There's just I'm just so proud that first of all, writing a book is hard. That's one thing, right? It's a lot of work. But the fact that I actually I came this far to write something for myself. I'm writing my own series, my own story. I'm just so excited about it, and and the people that have read it also love it. So I hope that more people would want to kind of gravitate towards the series and get to know the characters, and they can all just kind of form their own opinion of what they think and who they like and blah blah blah. So you know.
Let me encourage readers. Because I said, I did go out pre-read volumes 1 and 3. What was available on Amazon, kind of get a feel and a taste for what the series is like. And if you're a fan of horror, you're gonna like this.
Yeah.
If you grew up with Stephen King, Dean Koontz, like I did, and that sort of stuff. Yeah, you're gonna like this book. They're an anthology. There's a trail of breadcrumbs. It's gonna be a good read if you are a fan of horror fiction. Can you tell us why horror was sort of like the focus for you? I mean, a lot of people, they're romance writers, they're comedy writers. What was it about horror that pulled you in?
I think for me, horror has always been, I love the unknown. I love all things that are scary. I mean, like Halloween has always been my favorite holiday. So, and I think that for me, I think that I think darkness has always been very seductive to me. And I grew up on Freddy and Jason and Michael Myers and and Chucky and Pennywise the dancing clown. So I think it always like kind of speaks to my soul because of the fact that like you know who doesn't love a good killer? Like who doesn't love a good killer? Um, but and like and also I've been a big fan of like Tales from the Crypt, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the Vampire Diaries. Like so I think my other favorite show is called Witches of East End. Love that show. So I think it's like a lot of and plus I think also since I was a kid, I've always wanted to have powers. Like I've always wanted to be supernatural. Like I hate the fact that
are you a Salem native? Were you born and raised in Salem, or did you locate there?
I relocated here. I grew up in Boston,
Okay.
and I hate that. Like I wish I would have. I wish I would have found Salem a lot sooner. Because I always
It sounds like your hometown, buddy.
I know it really yes, it is. It really is. Because like I always knew I had an affinity for like, more darker things. So so it was kind of like a no-brainer when I started writing the series. It's like, yeah, I can write I can write I have a good story in me. I got a really really good story in me. And plus it just, anything that deals with like I'm telling you, I wish I was like a powerful sorcerer so I can do magic and stuff like that. I've always wished I could do stuff like that. So anything that do with horror, supernatural, and also too like a lot of the books that I wrote, it has a lot of heart to it. Like, it's a lot of like wonder and a lot of like so it's not just like straight up horror. Well, the first two are, but there's some stories that are very like heartbreaking and real and relatable and very like, where people can really understand like, wow, I can relate to that, like so I wanted to make the book to be as I guess you can say have a lot of different sides to it where it's not just one note. There's a lot of dimensions to it, so because people can get bored really easily, and then these books take you on a wild ride, like up and down and like side to side. I'm really excited about it.
The difference between a good horror film and a slasher film. You know what I mean? A slasher film, after you've seen the 20th murder, you're kind of like sitting there like this.
Right.
But a good horror film, you're like the whole time, like, what now? So I get what you're saying. Cool. So, Brandon, we want to talk about the other aspect of your career, because actually it's how we met you, and that would be the cosplay. Now, with that in mind, as we move forward, will the focus be more on cosplay or more on writing?
More on writing because that's something that I want to do. I want to do that long term.
Mm-hmm.
I know that long term, my books can transcend like just being books. It can be turned into a film one day, or a TV series one day, or a video game one day. Like the sky's the limit, really. And I mean, I will always like cosplay will always be a love for me. I will always do it as long as I can. As long as I have an enjoyment of doing it. I'm always gonna do it. Especially like just for Halloween. That's my favorite holiday. I'm never gonna stop doing that. But when it comes to like my I guess my books, my novels, my writing, that takes a lot more like I guess effort to get it out there and get people to like know about it and raise awareness of it. So definitely I'm an author first and then a cosplayer second. That's all. That's a part of the whole thing, the package of who I am, right? Like I'm a cosplayer. I'm an author. I can also sing, like, so I can. It's like a part of everything. Um, so, but I don't want people thinking that, oh, well, you can work on this. Like, oh, you can work on this movie set. I was like, well, I would want to be on a movie set, not like, I would, as an actor, not like a backstage person. Like, because, like, I'm not interested in like being a seamstress or being a makeup artist. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested more in like the writing aspect, and I'm interested more in the acting aspect of it all, if that makes any sense. So, and in each day that as I move forward through this journey of life, I want to become better, like with my makeup, better with my costumes, better with my writing, better just in general. Me as an artist as a whole, I want to be better, and I want to be great, and I want to be remembered, and I want people to say, "Wow, he is amazing," and I want to be remembered for that. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
I'm not going to knock it. I mean, we live in times where people have the ability to express themselves artistically like they've never had before, thanks to tech and stuff like that. And I'll say this: I know a lot of people who are writing books that have been writing them for the better part of 20, 30, 50 years now. And those books are still running around in the back room of their heads. You have 4 books on the shelf at Amazon, my friend. So be proud of what you're doing.
Thank you.
And you know what's coming down the line for yourself. So I'm glad to have had the opportunity to talk to you today. I'm glad that you got a chance to tell people about your story and they got a chance to see some of your cosplay. And I'm glad, as the inaugural episode of the series we're doing, I think this turned out pretty good. So thank you, my friend.
Of course.
So with that, Brandon, any last minute philosophy on life, anything that you feel people should know about you before we're out of here? Go.
Yeah, totally. So, this year, 2024, I will be going to the next series of conventions. I will be at Anime Boston. I also will be at WickedCon, which is in Boston, and I'm going to Dragon Con. So, and I will be and check out for my new cosplays. I will be doing a Green Lantern, and I will be doing Lord Morpheus from Sandman. And plus, a plethora of different other costumes I'm going to be doing, but those are the big ones for this year. And please check out my book series, Dark Mysteries of the Paranormal, Volume 1 through 4, available on Amazon. And please leave a review. I need all the reviews that I can get, because the more reviews I get, the higher I get on the ranking lists of Amazon. So that really helps me out. Thank you.
All right, folks. So you're here to help a brother out. He's trying to get out there into where he's doing his thing for real. Let's support him. Again, I pre-read a couple of volumes. Again, I'm a horror fan, so I kind of like what I saw. But there's nothing like really getting a good horror story and reading it as opposed to watching it. So I like you say, go out there and take a read, leave reviews. And Brandon Clarke, my friend, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today. That's it, folks. Or as they say, that's all, folks. I won't do the porky pig thing. Thanks, Brandon. Take care, my friend.
You too. Thank you.